Good morning. We're here for the Mayor's budget hearing with the Office of the Public Defender. And thank you for coming this morning. Before we get started, I do have a brief opening statement to inform this discussion. As you know from talking to the Finance Department, this is essentially a status quo budget year. That's happening after 2 years of significant increases in revenue at the city. We had $120 and $100 million in new revenue in the last couple of years. This year we'll have an increase as well, but not quite that much, in part due to a decrease in property tax revenues that are the result of an increased number of appeals, successful appeals of the reappraisal. Despite that reduction in increase in revenues, does that make sense?
I would say it again even.
There's a reduction in the increase in revenues. We're still going to stick with the historically low property tax rate of $3.15 in the Urban Services District, and believe that we'll be able to continue to provide the same level of service to the community. Today I'm joined by the Finance Director, Ms. Natalia Lomax O'Neill, and the city's Chief Strategy Officer, Brian Kelsey. If you'll give us a brief overview of your office and successes in the last couple of years, we'd appreciate it, and then we'll probably have a few questions at the end. Mr. Kelsey will be asking all the hard ones. So.
All right, then. Well, thank you very much. Good morning. Let me introduce who's here with me. Annette Crutchfield is our Administrative Services Manager, and Martisa Johnson, who will be on the ballot May 1st, with nobody else on the ballot May 1st for the Office of Public Defender. And so she's here with me this morning as she is learning the processes related to being the public defender in Nashville, and I'm excited to have her here with us. So this is always an opportunity to be appreciative and express appreciation for a couple of different groups of folks. And that first is the administration and their support of the Public Defender's Office over the years. Metro Nashville has always, in my estimation, been a city that appreciates what the Public Defender's Office brings to fairness in our criminal justice system for everyone. And so we are grateful for the support that we have seen from the administration, particularly a few years ago with the pay plan changes. They were a significant improvement, and we continue to be grateful, as does the staff. This is also my opportunity to just express appreciation for our staff publicly. They work hard every day representing people who really need help. They take their job very seriously, and they're the hardest working group of people that I know. And as we like to say around the office, the best group of lawyers money can't buy. And so I'm very proud of them, and they continue to work really hard and do great things. We have had some successes over the last few years, and I think I would like to talk a little bit about them. Many of them come in the form of collaboration with the other criminal justice stakeholders. The office started focusing a year or two on bail reform. And in that context, we worked with General Sessions Court, with the District Attorney's Office, and with the Sheriff's Office to get a grant to develop a pretrial risk assessment tool. What does that mean? Well, that is basically a tool using statistics that helps us figure out who are we holding in our jail pretrial, who we can release pretrial and release safely to be monitored in the community. The reality is that we hold a lot of people in jail in Nashville pretrial who don't need to be there for public safety reasons, and it hurts them. And it costs us money. And so if we can do better at evaluating who we can release pretrial safely and who will come back to court, then it's a win-win for everybody. It also gives poor people in Nashville the same access to justice that people with money have. People with money make bail when they are charged with a crime. People without money oftentimes get stuck in jail, and then that results in pleas that they would not otherwise enter if they had the ability to get out of custody pretrial. So that's been a great collaboration. We're getting ready through the Sheriff's Office to roll out that new risk assessment tool April 1, and we're really optimistic that will result in more individuals who have previously been held in jail pretrial being released with no negative impacts on public safety and really positive improvements for everybody. We have also been working on the Steering Clear PIP program, and I'm excited about the potential that has to really reduce workload in General Sessions Court and reduce resource needs for all of the agencies that are oftentimes just processing people through that docket. So what is Steering Clear? It's a driver's license diversion program. Again, this is a collaboration with the General Sessions Court, the District Attorney's Office, and the Sheriff's Office, and the Clerk's Office. Every year, there are somewhere in the vicinity of 25 to 30,000 individuals who go through our citation docket, and almost 2/3 of them are just charged with driving on a suspended or revoked or some sort of driver's license offense. And as a system, we have all sort of decided with General Funk's leadership that that's not really something we want to incarcerate people for. If we can, we want to help them get their driver's license or take a driving safety class or do community service work in lieu of jail time. And so we're already doing that in 1A. And so if there's a way to streamline that doesn't require booking the person, sending them to court for a DA to look at the case, for the clerk to create a file, for a public defense potentially be involved, for the General Sessions Court to have to monitor that court progress. Complete diversion of those cases through a program that's designed to help people get their license and help improve public safety is really a smart and what we think will be an effective program. So we're excited about that. It's also an opportunity to help individuals who are in custody right now work on what they need to do to get their driver's license, either by the time they get released or shortly after they're released. And there's quite a need in the Nashville community with organizations that serve formerly incarcerated and other individuals who are living in poverty to help get their driver's license. So that's another positive program that I'm really excited about and has been supported by the mayor's office. And so we're grateful for that, and we hope to continue that and really move forward in the next fiscal year. The last thing I would say about our office in terms of accomplishments, one of the things that I'm most proud of is that this year we started a client advisory board. And I think with me approaching 10 years in the office and about to depart, I'll look back on my time with the office and feel like the Client Advisory Board is one of the most important things we did. And what it offers us is an opportunity to hear from the people we serve and have served in the past on how we can do better, on what positive experiences they had, and also what challenging and negative experiences they had, so that we can learn from what they have to teach us. As a result of work that we are doing to try to better serve our clients, we created representation standards that sort of memorialize what clients of the office are entitled to receive under the law in terms of quality representation. And we had the Client Advisory Board available to us to weigh in on those. And they gave us some feedback about things that weren't there or things that we needed to tweak. And I thought that was really helpful. I think the more we as servants of the public can listen to the individuals who we serve for how well we're doing and involve them in really giving meaningful feedback, the better we will be at our service to them. And so I'm excited about that. We continue to grow in that area, and I just think it will create changes in the office that will be overall positive, both for the community and the clients that we serve. Just briefly about the numbers, our office has long lobbied the state for more money. We were successful several years ago in getting some additional money, but unfortunately that increase in revenues also came with the state changing the statute that calculates for the formula of how we get state funding. Despite that change, we have continued after that to ask for increased funding from the state. And there's several reasons for that, but public defense, just like prosecution of criminal cases, is a state function. It is primarily a state function. And so it should be state government that is contributing, I would argue, at least half of what it is that goes into funding this office. And that's where we were many, many years ago. But we have fallen behind in terms of our ratio of state to metro funding. We are close at this point to it being 75% metro funded and 25% state funded. That continues to be a problem. This year, we sent a request to the District Public Defenders Conference for an increase in state funding of $1.2 million. That is consistent with the types of increases we have asked for in the last few years. We base that number upon the number of lawyers, investigators, and social services or support staff that we need under the only caseload standards that exist in Tennessee that are now very old. They're from 1999. We call them the Spangenberg numbers. That was the name of the man who did the study on public defender workloads. And so we use those maximums. It's a simple formula. Calculate how many cases we handled in a particular year to disposition, and you divide it by how many cases a lawyer can handle in a year, and that tells you how many lawyers you need. And for fiscal 17, we were 15 lawyers short for the number of cases that we had. We were 4 investigators short for the number of cases we had, and we were 4 administrative support personnel short. And that's a state problem as far as I'm concerned. It's not a Metro problem. Metro has more than fulfilled its obligations to funding public defense in Nashville. And so the reality for us is that as we are not able to produce enhanced state revenues, our choice is to reduce workloads. When we do that, those individuals still receive representation, but they are appointed an attorney who is paid for, private attorney, who is paid for by the Indigent Defense Fund of the state. So that's where we are in terms of workloads. It is important for us to make sure that we are not handling and representing too many people, because if we do that, we don't have the time it needs to represent our clients well, and that reduces the quality of our representation and leads to client dissatisfaction and the potential of poor people not receiving the same level of representation that they otherwise could receive if they could hire counsel or should receive under the constitutional requirements of this state and this country. So that's sort of everything that I would have to say. We're grateful. Last year we got funding for Defender Data, which is a new case management system. We are slowly rolling that out. Part of the delay in that is that is actually a piggyback on a state contract with Defender Data, where we are going to realize some savings to our budget, where the state will pick up some of the costs associated with the subscription and the maintenance for Defender Data. And it is the same system that everybody across the state and the Public Defenders Conference will be using, which gives us the ability to kind of compare data along the same lines and maybe have successful arguments. Martisa's going to go on up to the state and maybe be successful in convincing them to give us more money in the coming years for the good work we're doing. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
I guess I'll kick
You
it
go.
off.
Go.
My turn always.
Your turn. You get to go
You've got
next.
a very modest budget request just for a rent increase, so I don't want to really
We heard it
talk
was a
about
status quo
that.
budget.
Yeah, but
And so
I just want to say thank you because you have been such a strong advocate, and you and I have spent many years talking about this issue with the state funding, and you have just been tireless and relentless in trying to represent those folks in this community. I mean, I just want to say thank you for your time and your effort, because you have been willing to challenge the status quo in a very brave way. So I'm proud to have worked
Nothing
with
like
you.
an understatement.
Yes. So I am
That's what they
proud
pay
to
me to
have
do,
worked with
so.
you, challenging the status quo. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
I've also got some thanks in order, I think. So as the person in the office here has been responsible for that program that funded Steering Clear, I just want to say thanks for spearheading that collaboration. You know, it's I think probably a sign of true collaboration when you show up to your budget hearing and advocate for continued funding in other people's budgets in a status quo budget year. So thank you for doing that. And if I could, let me just follow up just to ask about Steering Clear. I mean, I know this is probably a conversation for the sheriff's office too, but how is that program performing? And you know, as you look out into next year, you know, what do you hope to achieve through that based on what we've been able to do this year?
Well, we have had some somewhat unexpected challenges in getting it rolled out. There is a sticking issue around the booking of delayed booking of individuals, and so we continue to press on that. We are hopeful that maybe by next month we're going to have an agreement with all of the stakeholders to actually get the program in 1A at least up and running on a pilot basis. In the meantime, I think as the Sheriff's Office has looked for where they can be most useful, they've really started looking at the population of individuals that they have in their custody. And what is not surprising to me is that they find a lot of folks in jail who don't have driver's licenses. And really it is the criminalization of poverty when it comes to driver's license charges. One thing that I have to give a shout out to Councilman Freddie O'Connell and the other members of the council who recently supported the resolution to eliminate the jail fees that are assessed to individuals held pretrial. What people don't understand oftentimes is the enormous court cost bill that those costs create. And it's almost like adding insult to injury, because the only individuals who get assessed that charge are people oftentimes too poor to make their bail pretrial, so they are held in jail pretrial. So with the reduction of those court costs coming effective July 1, we feel like that's going to help a lot of people. But in the meantime, Steering Clear is a great option. Our office has one paralegal in it who does quite a bit of work helping individuals get their driver's license back who are clients of our office. And it makes a lot of sense, right? It is preventing crime from happening. The reality is that people drive. People have to drive for lots of different reasons. And it's not because they want to break the law, but it's because they need to. So the more we can do to proactively help those individuals get their license, the less police officers are writing citations, and the less the entire court system, the less collateral consequences there are. So it's not as far forward as I would like it to be, but I continue to have hope that within the next month or two we're going to get it rolling. And I think as soon as it starts, everybody will see what a positive impact it has and how much potential it has to make the system more effective, more efficient, and less costly.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to, you said you've been there for 10 years. That's just as the elected public defender. I know you've been with Metro for more than 20 years now, right?
Yes.
I don't mean to point that out in a negative way. I'm just being positive here. So I guess sometime in August, I guess, you'll be your last day.
Yes.
And just want to thank you for your service to the city in many different capacities. At one time, even working with my wife as a public defender. So Nashville counts on people who are committed to public service, and we've been fortunate to have you, Dawn, as a public servant. Martisa, you're coming in a long line of hardworking, true servants, and I look forward to working with you going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.